What up, guys? Hola, ¿qué tal? It's your girl Chiquis from the Chiquis and Chill and Dear Chiquis podcasts. And guess what? We're back for another season. Get ready for all new episodes where I'll be dishing out honest advice, discussing important topics like relationships, women's health, and spirituality. I'm sharing my experiences with you guys, and I feel that everything that I've gone through has made me a wiser person. And if I can help anyone else through my experiences, I feel like I'm living my godly purpose. Listen to Chiquis and Chill and Dear Chiquis on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Alec Baldwin. This past season on my podcast, Here's the Thing, I spoke with more actors, musicians, policymakers, and so many other fascinating people, like jazz bassist Christian McBride.
Jazz is based on improvisation, but there's very much a form to it. You have a conversation based on that melody and those chord changes. So it's kind of like giving someone a topic and say, okay, talk about this.
Listen to the new season of Here's the Thing on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jakes Roberts, host of the Woman Evolve podcast. You may also know me as a pastor, author, wife, mother, businesswoman, and leader. Women are shattering glass ceilings that once limited their ability to dream, grow, and change the world. Through honest conversations, sermons, and interviews with other dynamic women, my goal is to empower women around the world to elevate to the best versions of themselves. So girl, get up. Listen to the Woman Evolve podcast with Sarah Jakes Roberts every Wednesday on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Episode 376, How to Stick with Your Big Financial Goals.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And it is January 30th when this episode airs. So a lot of us are feeling the post-New Year's resolution, post-fresh start feeling wear off. And so this is a great time to learn some strategies that help you stick with goals long-term, longer than 30 days. And so that's what we are going to be getting into. It's not going to be as many tangible action tips as it will be mindset shifts, because that's really what you need when we are talking about sticking with goals throughout the year, not just for a couple weeks.
You know, our brain is the biggest contributor to the decisions that we make and the actions that we have. So we can't just give tips and hacks because they only last as long as that behavior does. But the mind is a powerful one. So that's what we're going to give you. But first, this episode is brought to you by tights, the kind you wear under your bathing suit for exercising, of course. That's right. It's 1992, and we're getting a fresh start with our new gear. We bought the sweatband, the sneaks, and the high-top socks. This year, we also splurged for that Thigh Master, Vibro belt, and the curlers and comb for making that hair look as big and strong as that body's about to be. It's a new year and a new you, because we all know that buying the spandex and all the equipment is what really leads to the results. And if these New Year's resolutions have you also wanting the Thigh Master of your money, get the friend letter. It's free, comes to your inbox 3 times a week, and it's chock full of deals specifically for that week, ways to save and spend better. frugalfriendspodcast.com. It's actually better than the Thigh Master and tights under the bathing suit.
Yeah, we're really loving the 90s right now. Mm-hmm. I think when they say 90s are having a comeback, I really hope that this is what they mean. The Vibro belt specifically.
Because 90s was where all the ludicrous stuff happened. Like when I go back and I look at the funny fitness fads, all of them were in the 90s.
Yes.
All of them.
Treasure trove of memes, if we're being honest.
And never looked up Body Flex, that's a good one. You're going to want to take that YouTube journey. It's this woman who breathes in some chaotic ways. I remember my mom doing that. I remember she would do these crazy face exercises and breathe real funny.
Good
I don't
for
think it was
her.
backed by science.
She looks great. Yeah, she looks great. I know that's probably why. So
she was breathing weird through the 90s.
Financial goals. We have a lot of episodes about them. We got like episode 282, regaining motivation when you don't feel like caring about money. And then episode 226, save smarter, not harder. So we talk a lot about not just the mindset, we're not like woo woo affirmation, sort of that sort of like mindset, but we love to look at the psychology behind the place that your mind plays in your money. So we do a lot of episodes like this, and this is actually going to be one of the chapters of our book that we are writing that will release next year. And so we wanted to talk it out with you guys. The book itself isn't about financial goals, but it is about values-based spending. How do you spend in your values? And a lot of people are going to want to learn that because you have financial goals. And so we thought it was the perfect time in the year to bring this up. And so we had a poll in the friend letter. So if you don't get the friend letter, that's another reason to get it, because we do a poll in every email, and a lot of them will bring into our planning for the episode. And we asked, what are your biggest financial goals for 2024? And learned that 40% of you want to pay off credit card and or personal loan debt, which is wild because I really thought it was going to be student loan debt. And that one only got less than a quarter of the votes for debt. And then the next highest amount was saving as much for retirement. That's about half as many of you want to do that. So we are going to focus a lot of maybe our content in 2024 with the focus of paying off debt, but then also with the mindset that a lot of this is high interest debt and that we want to pay off first. We had a lot of feedback from the poll saying that you feel like you want to do all of these goals. The choices were save an emergency fund, pay off student loans, credit card, save for retirement, or save for an upgrade or renovation. And a lot of you want to do all of them. And we definitely say paying off the credit card and personal loan debt should be first priority. Besides save an emergency fund, you can kind of do those at the same time. But we know the goals compete. So if you have to pick one, pick the high interest. But we wanted to just go through a few of your feedback, your responses, and kind of like encourage you and kind of this is a new thing that we're trying. So Jill, did you have any that you wanted to point out?
Just reading, because you can vote in the polls and then you can also type a response, and reading your responses feels like it has grown my heart 3 times the size that it already was. I know that you all are so great, but truly just where you're at and some of your vulnerability in your responses to just this simple poll really was moving to me. So that's one of my takeaways. I don't want to read anyone in particular, but what stood out to me in the responses to the poll is so many people just hitting these barriers of, maybe wanting to do a renovation and then inflation costs and building materials are too much. So it has kind of halted progress on that renovation, or you had some unexpected difficulties through a storm and now it's forced you into renovations. A lot of renovation stuff happening, but then barriers faced in the midst of it and then needing to take out loans. So I think what stands out to me is that this isn't, I'm just blowing money on credit cards, shopping, which that can be some people's circumstances, and that's okay. There's a journey there. But for so many, there's this, I kind of had to make this decision because of where I'm at currently to take on this debt. And I think my heart just like feels for you all. And I love the goal that you've set for yourself to pay off this high interest debt. And I think it's helpful even for me to feel I'm not alone either. Like I have faced these circumstances. Like I really want to do this thing, but I don't have the money for it right now, or this is more than I thought it was going to be. And yeah, y'all are just in some real spots with your money.
Yeah. The only one that I want to call out is that one of our readers has some money in medical debt and has the cash to pay it off, and is kind of like torn because she thinks that people think that she should use that to just pay it off and be debt free. But she has a chronic illness, and I just want to say, like, you're good, girl. Like, I would not tell you to use your cash reserves, especially with a chronic illness. Don't use your cash reserves to pay off a medical debt. This medical debt is probably interest free. You're already on a payment plan. Don't worry, you're doing the right thing. There's a lot of times where I think we've heard conflicting financial advice in the past, and we're doing what feels right for us, and we're stressed. I know I had this when I was paying off debt. Everyone was like, debt snowball, debt snowball, debt snowball. And then we chose to do the debt avalanche. And I was like, I feel kind of guilty because everyone's telling me to do this and I'm doing this. And in hindsight, it was insane because I was paying off debt. It didn't matter. Like I was doing something good for my finances. It didn't matter how I did it. I was moving in the right direction. And so if you are moving in the right direction, don't let conflicting financial advice confuse you or conflict you. Do what's right for you as you just stay in the right direction. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today when we talk about mindset. So we have 3 kind of steps or tips that you should take with you. We're going to dive deeply into 2 of them. So just come in with the first one is, in order to stick to big financial goals, you have to fall in love with the process. And we've talked previously, and in the book, this is going to make more sense because you'll have just read it. But in previous episodes where we've been kind of fleshing out these ideas, kind of about mastering the skill of spending, you'll never be perfect at spending. You'll never spend 100% on what you value and 0% on what you don't, right? But spending is a skill that we do get better at. And instead of just viewing that process as a means to an end, just as a means to get to your financial goals, when you start to fall in love with the process, that's when you can take this skill and not just reach your next financial goal, but your next financial goal and the next one and the next one, because you're never going to stop having financial goals. And so the first thing when we're looking at how do we stick to big financial goals long term is to fall in love with the process.
Yeah, so many people ask us, how do you stick to frugality? And they'll ask it like it's this self-imposed punishment. Like this is like really viewing the deprivation parts of it, what I have to say no to, what it means I can't do or accomplish, and how does anyone possibly just stick with frugality? And I think we're recognizing in ourselves and in other people's stories that we're not frugal just for frugal's sake. None of us just love being frugal. Also, it depends on how you're defining frugality. But for partially what it gets us, and partially, like Jen's describing, falling in love with this process in a larger, more all-encompassing way. So I'm gonna look at one angle, Jen will look at another, but I think frugality can be something that when we put it into practice, we are reaching our financial goals faster. We're saving more. We maybe don't have to work as hard because we're not at a place where we're continuously outspending our earnings. We're kind of recognizing where contentment is, where enough is, and we can recognize that's what frugality affords us. But of course, that's not necessarily enough for everybody, because those goals ebb and flow. They shift. You reach a goal, and then what? There's this deeper mindset that does have to become more all-encompassing of, no, I truly love this lifestyle that I'm building. I truly love learning more about myself and how to spend on the things that I really enjoy.
Yeah. For me, the math isn't enough. And even the big why isn't enough. And most people, I think, experience this, is that we're always, when you're creating a financial goal, you say, think of your why. Why do I want to? Because uh, paying off debt in itself is not the goal. The goal, it's just not enough. The goal for me when we were paying off debts that I wanted to foster, that was the real goal. And paying off debt, I knew would make it easier for me to choose to work or not, to choose how I wanted to work, the flexibility I would have in my life in the future. That's why I paid off debt. I didn't pay off debt because I wanted to be debt free. I didn't want to be debt free. I didn't really care. So that was not enough for me. In order to want to spend better, and even that didn't make me want to change my spending. That made me want to pay off debt. And so I just wanted to side hustle more to pay off the debt. So it's a start, but it's also a process. And that's why we say process, because you're going to be learning more about your capabilities, your unique season, and what you're capable of. And what you think your journey is going to look like is not probably what the journey is going to look like long term. So you have to be flexible and willing to pivot. And all of this is easier to do when you're focused more on the process instead of the end goal. Because we think about goals and we think the ends justify the means. And I hear this all the time, everywhere, in every scenario. Surely you have heard this. And I'm adamant the ends never justify the means. And the end is the end, right? The end, after its end, it's over. You're dead. The means are all we have. So when you fall in love with the process, that's your life. Like, that's everything that you have. If you just fall in love with the end, you're going to resent the process.
Yeah, I think said another way, it's enjoying the journey, embracing the journey, because it can't just be about the destination. The destination is in some ways a blip on the radar. You know, the hike that you go on and you reach the peak, and that's awesome. But if you don't learn to embrace the hike on the way there, then that's just a fleeting moment. You'll probably never go hiking again. Might be the reason that a lot of people don't go hiking. But I think that this, relates to that other question that we get asked often too, not just how do you stick to frugality, but how do you keep that long-term goal in mind and remember your why when making that instant gratification decision is just so much easier and more appealing? How do I turn down the thing in the moment and keep this why in the forefront at all times? And the reality is it's not actually not possible. And probably one of the reasons that we all can feel so defeated in that process. I think first to both of those questions that we say, you can't just want it. You're going to have to love it. You're going to have to fall in love with the process, embrace the journey. You really do have to love your long-term goal and your why enough that you want to say no to the instant gratification decision, not just that your willpower was strong enough. Like, if your heart doesn't flutter, you don't get flushed in the cheeks when you think about your goal, then it's not the right goal to pursue. That's why what you're describing, Jen, that paying off debt is rarely the right goal for most people. I mean, certainly still pay off your debt, but paying off debt is a solution to a problem. keeping you from the right goal. So this is where we're talking about mindset of identifying it can't just be pay off debt. That's going to feel really depleting, overwhelming. It's going to feel like deprivation most of the time. We've got to attach it to something bigger, and we have to learn to embrace the process, fall in love with the journey of discovery and finding ways that it's not feeling like I'm just saying no, but I'm saying yes. And that's a lot of mindset that we're talking about there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It comes down to this external and internal motivation. So a lot of the times in this, we'll focus on external motivators. So those are like rewards. If you pay off a credit card, you take yourself out to dinner. If you get a raise, you go buy yourself a new outfit. You've got these events, and you are working towards them for some type of external motivation. Like if I spend nothing for 6 days, on the 7th day, I'm going to get to go out to dinner, something like that. That's external motivation, external rewards. And then you have intrinsic motivation, internal motivation, and that's doing something for the joy of doing it. Nobody has to tell you to do it. You find joy and satisfaction for doing it. And that's part of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're looking for those higher needs, right? The self-esteem, the self-actualization, those are the things that are going to help us find those intrinsic motivators. But that's kind of what we're talking about here. External motivation only lasts for so long. After like 6 months in your debt payoff journey, that 7th day dinner is not going to be motivating enough. You'll just go buy dinner now. It's not going to work. You have to be, while you're using external motivation, you have to be building up these intrinsic motivators, building up and finding the things that you love about the journey. You're not going to love everything about the journey, right? You're not going to love everything about the process. So it's about, how do we do more? We're looking at all the things. We're taking inventory. What do I love? What do I don't love? How do I do more of the things that I love and less of the things that I don't love? And we talk a lot about eating at home because it saves money. I personally hate dishes. So I want to eat at home because it saves money. So how can I make eating at home more enjoyable? Well, I want to do less dishes and I want to do less cooking. So I create a meal plan that focuses on the things that I love. It brings me joy when I cook a meal at home because I know I've saved so much money and not eating out. And I haven't felt miserable in the process, making these multi-pot dinners that look Instagram worthy. So finding these things that bring you joy. So that's like finding joy on the actual like saving money side. But there are other things, like honestly, like making money brought me a lot of joy on my debt payoff journey. Every time $1 hit my bank account, like I loved it. I felt accomplishment was really one of my core values back then. So another way you can find these intrinsic motivators is knowing your core values. And so anytime I could find that, like, I felt so good. The Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, those are also some things. If you know those things about yourself, then you can get closer to finding your intrinsic motivators.
I think for me, feeling accomplishment along the way and feeling senses of ingenuity and embracing simplicity and watching myself problem solve and become resourceful, especially in my debt payoff. But then beyond that, it was something that I embraced because I loved those things so much along the way. What I was able to see in myself as a result of just kind of thinking more critically and leaning into the things that actually were valuable to me is what kind of kept me and keeps me on this journey of being a good steward of my resources. For me, that's my example of what the process and enjoying and falling in love with the process is, and why I can say wholeheartedly, frugality isn't deprivation for me. Values-based spending isn't saying no constantly. It's actually finding my better yeses and really leaning into that and choosing to focus my time, energy, and attention on those things.
Yes, I am finding my better yes.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So, how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
What up, guys? Hola, ¿qué tal? It's your girl Cheekies from the Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies podcasts. You've been with me for season 1 and 2, and now I'm back with season 3. Yeah! I am so excited, you guys. Get ready for all new episodes where I'll be dishing out honest advice and discussing important topics like relationships, women's health, and spirituality. For a long time, I was afraid of falling in love. So I had to, and this is a mantra of mine or an affirmation every morning where I tell myself, it is safe for me to love and to be loved. I've heard this a lot, that people think that I'm conceited, that I'm a mamona. And a mamona means that you just think you're better than everyone else. I don't know if it's because of how I act in my videos sometimes. I'm like, I'm a baddie. I don't know what it is, but I'm chill. It's Cheekies and Chill. Hello. Listen to Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies as part of the My Cultura podcast network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jacob Goldstein. I used to host a show called Planet Money. Now I'm starting a new show. It's called What's Your Problem? Every week on What's Your Problem, entrepreneurs and engineers describe the future they're going to build once they solve a few problems. How do you build a drone delivery business from scratch?
Our customers, they want us to do this unbelievably reliably, in the storms, no matter what, and hundreds of times a day.
How do you turn a wild dream about a new kind of biology into a $10 billion company?
We didn't have a particular technology. We didn't have a way of making money. It was a great way to start a company. I highly recommend
What could go wrong? How do you sell millions of dollars worth of dog ramps for wiener dogs in the middle of a pandemic?
We're working with 400 influencers, and the majority of them are actually not a person, but it's actually a dog.
I can tell you right now, the dog ramp guy has some very interesting problems. Listen to What's Your Problem on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. So our next point. So first is falling in love with the process. Next is embracing the ebbs and flows of life, of the journey, embracing the ebbs and flows. And so originally in this chapter, we wanted to talk about taking quote unquote potty breaks on the journey. Like it's a road trip and you're allowed to take potty breaks. But I think and we still like believe that, right? You're allowed to take breaks on your journey. But if you shift your mindset slightly and just say the entire thing is the journey, but sometimes there's going to be straight up and to the right movement, and sometimes it's going to be a little backtracking. That happens. And so embracing the ebbs and flows of life is another essential mindset and practice to sticking to long-term financial goals.
Yeah, to recognize that there's going to be a little bit of ups and downs. And we can see this just when we look at the graph of the last 30 years of the S&P 500 index, and if you can't recall that instantly in your head, you can think of really kind of any line graph. You can clearly see that it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, but ultimately it's going to trend up and to the right. So any line graph you've ever seen, that's what the S&P 500 index line graph looks like. And that even though we see these graphs all the time, everywhere, for some reason, we can still expect that our trajectory is just going to be a straight line up and to the right. And we can get really disappointed when things don't go our perfect way. And so I think to stick to a big financial goal, you have to embrace the journey, fall in love with the process, but also recognize that there's going to be these ebbs and flows, and learning ways to embrace that too, not to see it as this massive setback, but a part of the process, keeping in mind that if you're on a downturn, it's not going to stay that way. And if you're on an upswing, it might not remain that way either, but that we can continue to hold hope and recognize that we can continually experience growth in some facet and trend up and to the right, even if there are these times where it feels like I've fallen off the wagon, this isn't going my way. It doesn't mean that that's the entire picture of your life.
Yeah, we saw so many of you in your feedback in the friend letter poll saying, like, I was on my way to pay off debt, and then I had this medical thing, or this thing broke in my house, or a car broke, and now I had to use my emergency fund for that, or put it on credit, and now I'm like resaving or changing my strategy. There are going, like, your financial goals are going to change too. They're not going to be static. Like, you're going to be paying off your debt. Then you're going to have a car breakdown and use your emergency fund. And you're going to have to transition back to saving an emergency fund again. And then we get back to the debt. So you have to expect that. Expect that's going to happen and be bummed about it. Like, it's not cool. It's not fun, but it's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah.
And because you're prepared for it, because you already anticipated it, it's going to be less of an emergency. It's going to be less of a crisis and just more of a bummer. Like, I would much more prefer a bummer over a crisis.
Yes. And life ebbs and flows even separate from our existence. I know we talked about this in honoring our season and what does that mean and look like. And sometimes these ebbs and flows happen apart from our control, which is also all the more reason to accept it as a part of the journey and a part of the process. And we don't need to view every ebb as a setback, a failure, an indication that you should quit or that you're not enough. We don't have to internalize these things in life that don't go our way. We can see them as a part of the process. As we were preparing for this episode, Jen, it was reminding me of a very tangible, very real experience that I've been having lately of cleaning my house. I do like a very clean house. I want that to be a destination, but I have been bummed over the years to realize that it's never going to reach perfection. I have gotten to these points in life where, okay, yes, the laundry's done and the floors are mopped and the beds are made, but and that all feels amazing. And I feel like I've almost reached the pinnacle. But even still, that's not going to last. Come tomorrow, we're using it and we're walking around and there's more laundry that's now been created and more dirt. And even if I did reach what I think is nirvana, like the baseboards could still be cleaned and the ceiling fans could be wiped on the tops and the fan in the bathroom could be cleaned out. Like, recognizing that I'm actually never going to arrive, this bit of just maintaining is going to be a part of my life. And even before we mapped out this outline, I was starting to try to think through, how can I shift my mindset on this. So I'm loving to see the overlap here, and it's helping to solidify this takeaway for me that I have to learn to enjoy the fact that this is going to be a regular part of my rhythm, and that I can enjoy this as part of something that I do. How can I embrace what it means to maintain in the way that I want to maintain my house? And so it's meant playing music or not caring so much or letting it get messy and then inviting other people to help me with it if it really needs that. So I think we can see this a part of a lot of areas of life, that there are these ebbs and flows. We're never going to reach perfection. Having various financial goals will continue to be a part of our life. There isn't the reaching the pinnacle. It's just over. Like you've said, Jen, like we reach the end and it's the end. We will forever and always have new goals, new things we're focusing on. There will be barriers and interruptions to that thing, but what can we incorporate into our thought life that is going to help us enjoy the process of it? Recognize that ebbs and flows are part of it. We can embrace the ebb so we can get back into the flow and find joy in the midst of all of it.
Yeah. I think one of your solutions might be to come over to my house, because this morning I had the same desperation, but it's because I couldn't see any of the surfaces in my house. They were all covered. The kids were sick this weekend, and I was also sick. And I just couldn't see any of the surfaces. And I cleaned up a little. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my 10-minute trick. This is a little tangent. 10-minute trick. I set a timer for 10 minutes, and I just did everything I could in 10 minutes. And I ended up getting everything cleaned in the kitchen except for the dishes. And then I went to work. And it made me feel
did what you could with the resources that you had. It's beautiful.
So, yeah, I mean, this concept of embracing the ebbs and flows transcends finances, right? When we train ourselves in this mindset for finances, we take it everywhere. And the same goes for, we try to incorporate in most of our episodes. If you can use the skills you learn in spending and feel good about that, confident about that, you can take those skills elsewhere, like in cleaning. So yeah, stop viewing every event in life that doesn't go the way you think it should as something that reflects you personally or your capabilities, your abilities, your season's abilities, and just embrace it. So instead of internalizing, let's do two things. We're going to learn from the ebbs and celebrate the flows. So when we make goals, we often make them with the notion that we will remain the same person we are now, but with X, fill in the blank for goal. With, I am me now, but with no debt. That leads to viewing the process of getting to the goal as a means to an end, like we said, is not healthy. And that's why many people fail to achieve big goals, is because they're looking at themselves now and then big goal and forgetting the process. You have a huge opportunity to grow from the things that challenge you along this process. When you reach a goal, assume you will not be the same person that you are when you started the goal. Just assume that. And when you assume that, you can view every ebb, every challenge as a way to learn, to grow, figuring out what can I take from this? So if it was something that I did or didn't do, if it was a challenge that stemmed from me, like what's the root cause of the decision that I made? And how can I make a different decision the next time this comes up? Right? If it was something that didn't stem from you, that it was environmental, how can I be prepared for something like this in the future? Was I over-prepared? Was I under-prepared? Asking yourself questions when challenges arise so that you learn, you grow. So when you get to your next goal, your secondary goal should be to also be a wiser person So I don't think the goal is to be celebrated. And this is something I learned a lot in running. Like when you do a half marathon, the half marathon is just your victory lap. The real challenge is all the training that it took to get to the half marathon. And then just having fun in the race, because that's your victory lap. And it's the same thing. The goal, I don't think, should be celebrated as much as once you reach the goal, to celebrate the whole journey, the whole process that you just went through, to remember all the challenges you overcame, all the times you made a decision that you didn't like. And then the next time you had that decision to make again, you made the one that you wanted to make. All of these things. So these are really important things to remember. And then next, to celebrate the good times, right? So you can't know what's up unless you've been down, essentially. So when you're learning from these ebbs, then when you're in a good season, a season when there are no bummers, you can really celebrate that and really hit your stride and know that it's a stride.
Yeah. I think, finally, I know we wanted to say that there's three things, and we're not going to talk about this too much in depth because we really thought that those first two were vital. But I think being informed and knowing when outside forces have ulterior motives is that kind of third and final piece that we want to talk about. So your journey won't be perfect. You will not be perfect. There are always going to be outside forces also working against you. So you know a lot about spending psychology, but marketers and advertisers know just as much, and they want to encourage you to spend your money. And so I think we want to say that that's not evil. Marketing, advertising, there's a lot of good people, good businesses getting good messages out there. But for every ad that helps you spend on things you love, there are also like 5 to 10 ads trying to convince you to love what it is that they're selling. And so we think that this is another key element in being able to stick to not just financial goals, but learning to love and embrace the process, is also thinking critically about the way that we're spending and leaning more and more into spending on the things that we value.
Yeah, being informed is something that's going to be a lifelong journey. And we're here to help you stay informed. But the marketing tactics that people were using 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they've evolved because people get wise and they stop, being privy to pervasive advertising. And so some of the new things that we saw come out in 2023, and this obviously will change over the years, but right now we're seeing like AI powered chatbots that like literally will have real-time conversations to answer questions and guide you to making a purchase on websites or social media. And they can even customize these conversations using data and analytics you probably didn't realize you agreed to share with them. So that's one thing. Marketers know you want to buy what you value. So now they're creating brands with impact that make you feel like your purchase is doing good. We saw a lot about in 2021, people saying, buy to help people, buy things to help other people. And to an extent, in that time, that was a healthy thing. But people are still kind of using that, buy, shop small, right? We want to shop small, but we don't want to overspend in our attempt to help small businesses, right? We want to save on the big things so that we have room in the budget to help out small businesses and not put ourselves in credit card debt. So be wary of like brands that really make you feel like spending money with them is doing good. If you want to do good, there are a lot of ways to do good. And they're evolving. They know blatant advertising feels icky, like in social media, paid ads with influencers. So they're actually becoming storytellers, right? Connecting you to the brand on an emotional level sometimes before you even know what they sell. I was doing some reading, and there are no, from what I understand, there are no pictures of Red Bull on Red Bull's Instagram. So it's all story-based, getting you to love the brand. And so you are attached to them on an emotional level. So when you make an energy drink, when you have the chance to make an energy drink purchase, they hope you will choose Red Bull. So, and that's kind of, it's definitely a transition from what they've done in the past, but a lot of other brands are doing this. And I think probably on a deeper level than just like energy drinks, but things that make you feel a certain way. And then when you buy their product, you hope you're buying that feeling. So that's why it's becoming increasingly important that you don't evaluate your goals and values just once, but you have to continue to reevaluate them for the rest of your life. So as marketing evolves, so do you. And there are a ton of others. We have an episode on marketing techniques that is still super relevant, but these are just a few of the new ones that we saw come out in 2023 that have been, that marketers, and we read marketing articles that are written for marketers, and then we talk about them on this show. So you know what they're reading.
I love that hot take. So to review, the mindset pieces that we want to keep our sights on and be actively working towards growth and well-being is that falling in love with the process, learning ways that you can really embrace the journey. We are finding ways to embrace and recognize the ebbs and flows, and we're informing our brains and knowing when the outside forces are having an impact on us versus us allowing it to inform us on the values that we already know that we have. We think that these three things are going to be really powerful for longevity and really enjoying it, not just longevity in this tough, cumbersome thing that we're doing, but embracing a life that we really enjoy, being in tune with our values and it not feeling like deprivation, but the life that we've really curated and enjoy now. But you know what? There is a secret hidden fourth thing here.
Yes.
That we'd be
and
remiss
if you
to
take
not
this with
mention.
you do have a higher, it's statistically, studies have shown with a sample size of 2 that this will really help you stick to your long-term goals.
It's the bill of the week.
Bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Hey, Frugal friends. My name is Acacia. I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. Loved your stuff. I've listened for a long time. It's been fantastic. My bill of the week just happened to be this morning. So earlier this week, I reached out to a company and asked for a discount on one of their pieces of software that I use a lot. And it came time to renew, and it's kind of pricey. And so I just reached out and asked if they have a discount program for small businesses. And they had a few pieces of criteria they needed me to meet, which I did. And they said if I left a review on this platform, they would go ahead and give me a 20% discount. So I did, got the 20% discount. Fantastic. And then today I got an email from that platform that hosts the reviews, and they said that I could collect an Amazon gift card for $14 as a reward for leaving a review. So for one review, I got 20% off the product that I wanted, and then I got $14 for Amazon for whatever I like. That was a pretty good day. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Take care.
Oh, yes. We love that. You don't know if you don't ask. I need to get that through my head. That is honestly a lesson I am still learning.
Yeah, Akeisha, that is a good day. Oh, I've had this happen as well. The opportunity to leave a review and get a gift card in return. Oh, what a beautiful turn of events that can happen there in those purchases. So thrilled to hear of this. Thanks for sharing your bill with us. If you all listening have a bill, if it's about leaving reviews and getting discounts and gift cards in return, if it's about a bill you don't mind paying, if your name is Bill and you're just out here living your life in the world, we want to hear from you. frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Leave us your bill.
What up, guys? Hola, ¿qué tal? It's your girl Cheekies from the Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies podcasts. You've been with me for season 1 and 2, and now I'm back with season 3. Yeah! I am so excited, you guys. Get ready for all new episodes where I'll be dishing out honest advice and discussing important topics like relationships, women's health, and spirituality. For a long time, I was afraid of falling in love. So I had to, and this is a mantra of mine or an affirmation every morning where I tell myself, it is safe for me to love and to be loved. I've heard this a lot, that people think that I'm conceited, that I'm a mamona. And a mamona means that you just think you're better than everyone else. I don't know if it's because of how I act in my videos sometimes. I'm like, I'm a baddie. I don't know what it is, but I'm chill. It's Cheekies and Chill. Hello. Listen to Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies as part of the My Cultura podcast network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jacob Goldstein. I used to host a show called Planet Money. Now I'm starting a new show. It's called What's Your Problem? Every week on What's Your Problem, entrepreneurs and engineers describe the future they're going to build once they solve a few problems. How do you build a drone delivery business from scratch?
Our customers, they want us to do this unbelievably reliably in the storms, no matter what, and hundreds of times a day.
How do you turn a wild dream about a new kind of biology into a $10 billion company?
We didn't have a particular technology. We didn't have a way of making money. It was a great way to start a company. I highly recommend
What could go wrong? How do you sell millions of dollars worth of dog ramps for wiener dogs in the middle of a pandemic?
We're working with 400 influencers, and the majority of them are actually not a person, but it's actually a dog.
I can tell you right now, the dog ramp guy has some very interesting problems. Listen to What's Your Problem on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives you access to all. Every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. iHeartMedia is your access company. Go to iHeartResults.com for more.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
Pew, pew, pew. All right. 2024, what's your big financial goal? And I love how this is flipped for us.
Yeah. Did we say what our goals were for 2023? I have to go back to the archives.
I think we've just talked about them like to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But usually my goal is your goal and your goal is my goal. But 2024, it's chaotic.
What is
already.
Yours, Jen? What's your big financial goal?
Mine is a house renovation. So we have had money saved. We are almost 2 years, over a year and a half into this home renovation. And we are definitely going to finish it this year. I don't know if we'll hit the 2-year mark, like the I don't know. Every month we change the goal, but we will finish it this year because we're pretty close. We just have the one big thing that we've put off to the end is getting a header installed and removing part of a load-bearing wall. That honestly, finding somebody to do that has been the hardest thing. And I will never take on a renovation again where I have to hire out help. I just will never do that again because it's hard.
It's hard
to find people.
I know.
So yeah, and I will feel a lot less anxiety once the money we have set aside in our bank account has been spent on the home renovation. Because right now I don't want to spend it because I'm not 100% sure what the rest of the renovation will cost. Like, that's not something I can perfectly, but that is not something I can budget for. I can have a goal in mind, but so, I mean, I definitely have a limit, the top limit, because my money is not infinite. But yeah, I want it to be over.
It'll happen. But yeah, being in the thick of it can feel so overwhelming. And whenever we even did renovations for other people, of course we did our own, but Eric and I had our own renovations small business at one point. And before we started any person's project, I always warned them, you like me now, you like what I have to say to you, you're going to keep liking me probably for another few weeks, but the second we hit the middle, you're going to feel real done. You're going to hate all of this, right smack dab in the middle. And then you're going to think that you're almost there and you're not, and you're still in the middle. And it's not until like the very, very, very final end that things will look up again. But we're going to have a solid middle point where everything feels really awful. And as much as I reminded other people about it, I'd remind myself, it still just stunk every single time. That middle bit, that radical middle, holding the tension between the beginning and the end, and neither one feels like it's in sight. The beginning was so far away and the end is so far away.
I know. That's one of the reasons I couldn't see any of my surfaces this morning, is because we keep removing surfaces in the renovation. Yeah. And eventually we will put more in, but not yet. So,
yeah. You're in the middle. Get comfy. Find a way to embrace it. So for me, I wrote earn more. But I think, Jen, as you and I have chatted, that is true. But I think that this conversation is even helping me to realize that I'm in an ebb right now. I think I'm coming out of a flow. I anticipate a flow in the future. I hope to ultimately trend up and to the right. But I do think I'm in an ebb, and I'm okay with it. I have actively kind of chosen this ebb. It's not necessarily something that has happened to me. Thankfully, I think because of you, our community, these conversations, it doesn't feel like deprivation. I think I'm learning ways to embrace it, but I'm not in this point of everything feels attainable to me. I'm just grasping everything my heart desires. I'm definitely in a place where I have to be a little bit more mindful about my decisions, especially around my finances. There's some things that we're doing, again, not deprivation, finding ways to experience joy in the midst of it, but having made a decision to make less right now for this season because of freedom and flexibility that it's affording me, it also means we can't go out as much. We need to be a little bit more prudent about things. Again, I don't feel sad or deprived in it, but I'm in an ebb. I'm hoping to earn more, but it's not that earning more isn't this like total at the forefront for me. It's a little bit more of, I feel like I'm in maintenance mode. I want to maintain the things that I've already done. And if I feel like I'm wanting something, finding creative ways to get that. I think one small example of this is Instagram did get me the other day. I saw this reel of a woman who's a cook. She makes these recipes that are really inspiring to me. I love the food that she makes. And she's trying to sell this apron that's adorable. It looks like a dress over top of her clothes. And I don't have an apron. I've never thought that I needed an apron, but I'm like, that's a beautiful apron. And I actually got excited. I mean, I clicked on the link. They're like $95 for this apron, but I actually got excited to think, I could sew that. Like I have a skill of sewing. I've got fabric. Who knows if I'm actually going to do it, but it was inspiring to me even to see that growth that we've just been talking about, that it's not deprivation for me to say, I'm not going to get that apron right now. It's $95. That's ridiculous. If I wanted it, I can figure out a way to make it myself with the things that I already have on hand. So I think right now my financial goal, quote unquote, is continuing to like embrace this season and enjoy the freedom and flexibility that my choices have allowed, and kind of just maintain as I also have this aim of earning more. That was a mouthful, but there we are. If any of you are finding yourself in an ebb, I hope this is encouraging to you.
Yes. And please buy our book when it comes out, because that's why we've taken a pay cut. We are writing a book.
I gotta need space to write that book.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening. We love reading your kind reviews. We especially love this one from Danielle B. She says, Jen and Jill, human equivalents of sunshine emoji. I have binged the Frugal Friends podcast for the last few months and absolutely adore Jen and Jill. They're thoughtful, engaging, and have fabulous practical content. I love to listen to the podcast whenever I have a spare moment. And when I'm listening, I feel like I'm spending time with friends, good friends who are authentic and support me to be a good steward of my resources. I can't recommend this podcast enough. And I'm always delighted when I discover new episodes are available. Love your incredible work, ladies.
Thank you for that beautiful review, Danielle. Wow. If you are listening and you also enjoy this show, please do take a minute to leave a rating and a review. It helps us find other community members, like that poll that we referenced at the beginning of this. These are the type of people who are a part of our community, sharing their real life experiences and journeys. So leave a rating, get the friend letter, frugalfriendspodcast.com, respond to our polls. We're going to talk about your answers on the show and hopefully give even more relevant feedback for you all.
Yeah. See you next time.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Siriani.
Oh, man. Jill. So my birthday's in May, but last year I signed up for a car wash newsletter that gives you a free car wash on your birthday, and I wanted it immediately. So I said my birthday was in December. And so this year I've gotten another text. Stop it. I got another text that I have a free car wash this month, and I really need it. I can't wait till May. But it's expiring on Friday. They just sent me a text. And so on Saturday. So Friday, I might Kai does not like going through the car wash for some reason. I loved the car wash as a kid. He's not a big fan, but he's 4. I guess he has got time. So I might have to go by myself.
It can feel scary. I mean, it is funny. It's a funny thing to lie about to me, but I guess you're still only going to get one a year. So, okay. Like you're not cheating the system by getting more. Just funny.
Right. But I can join different car wash newsletters and say my birthday is in different times of the year.
And I guess none of them
so
are
I'm getting
checking,
free car washes throughout the year.
Oh my gosh.
That's why this tip is in the after show. It's not ethical.
This is not a hack that we're necessarily encouraging for other people. I'm a little afraid of the car wash, probably not for the same reasons as your 4-year-old, but the last 2 times that I've gone, you know, you got to put your car in neutral. Well, it started to make my car go backwards in the thing. And I almost ran into the person behind me because for some reason, I can't totally remember, like my brakes wouldn't work or I couldn't just like accelerate. That it wasn't allowing me to do that. And fast forward to I come home and tell Eric about this. He used to work at a car wash. One of his like 50,000 jobs he's had in his life.
God
and he's
bless
like,
him.
yeah, that happens. It's something with whatever the mechanism is that locks your car in place while you're in neutral. He's like, we would have accidents happen all the time in the car wash. None of them were like, anything that you even needed to call an insurance company for, because you're literally going like 1 mile an hour. But he's like, yeah, that it can glitch. That happens. I'm like, I did not love that experience. I'm not going to do that again. And then it happened when Eric was driving. We were both in the car together. He kind of knew what to do to not run into the person behind him. I still don't remember what the trick was. Probably just flooring it out of there. But that's why I'm afraid of it. So I'm with you, Kai. Car washes are unpredictable and not worth lying about.
I'm sorry, we have differing opinions. I'm still going to go to the car wash. Like, how do you get your car clean? Like, do you do it by hand?
No, we do go to the car wash. It's just now I make Eric drive.
Yeah. All right.
What up, guys? Hola, ¿qué tal? It's your girl Cheekies from the Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies podcasts. And guess what? We're back for another season. Get ready for all new episodes where I'll be dishing out honest advice, discussing important topics like relationships, women's health, and spirituality. I'm sharing my experiences with you guys, and I feel that everything that I've gone through has made me a wiser person. And if I can help anyone else through my experiences, I feel like I'm living my godly purpose. Listen to Cheekies and Chill and Dear Cheekies on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia Bush, host of the podcast Work in Progress, and I am thrilled to tell you that Work in Progress is back for a third season. It has never been more important than right now to have these conversations with all of you so that we can get educated, enlightened, and we can all be entertained. I will be sitting down and having deep conversations with thought leaders, newsmakers, celebrities, elected officials, and more. Listen to Work in Progress on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jakes Roberts, host of the Woman Evolve podcast. You may also know me as a pastor, author, wife, mother, businesswoman, and leader. Women are shattering glass ceilings that once limited their ability to dream, grow, and change the world. Through honest conversations, sermons, and interviews with other dynamic women, my goal is to empower women around the world to elevate to the best versions of themselves. So girl, get up. Listen to the Woman Evolve podcast with Sarah Jakes Roberts every Wednesday on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.